private equity buyout diverted Westie Magnuson from wanting a tattoo of his then employer's company on his arm to jumping ship on an all-new endeavor.
The sky is the limit, I would say. We have a hungry young team that just like in a healthy way, like, hey, last month was the best month ever. Okay, well, let's have this month be the best month ever. Okay, well, let's have this month be the best month ever.
Cornel's Plumbing was looking to expand its Portland footprint, and Westie embraced his new role as Chief People Officer. Westie Magnuson, you are the Chief People Officer at Cornel's Plumbing, and I have interviewed a half dozen or so people so far. Most of them have been business owners. Not one of them has been a Chief People Officer. Explain.
Yeah, okay. So explaining is I am technically over anything to do with recruiting, hiring, culture, retention, for the time being, HR related stuff, which is not my background, but it's fun to learn about that. And then I partner with the owner and the GM and the rest of the leadership team for any long-term strategic planning, what kind of growth needs we're going to have in terms of additional buildings, additional fleet, additional existing roles, when we need to add new roles and what roles those should be, and that type of thing.
So as Chief People Officer, was this a new position they created and hired you, or was this a position that existed and you interviewed for it?
New position they created and then hired me for. So I'd been talking with Mario, the owner. We'd gotten coffee and lunch here and there for about 8 months leading up to me transitioning over to working at Cornell's.
I think this is a smart thing for companies to do in a lot of respect, but I think it's probably reserved for larger companies. How big is Cornell's?
In terms of headcount, we were around 30 or so employees when I started a little under a year ago. And as of today, we're at 54.
So you've almost doubled your headcount in the last year. And you guys serve what area?
We serve all the Portland metro area. So we don't go into Washington at all north. And then there's kind of a natural barrier that most of the shops in our area do. We don't really go farther south than where the metro area ends. And we kind of go on both sides of the river. So
population wise, ballpark, do you have any idea what that is?
Man, I don't actually off the top of my head. Yeah. Something like that. I mean, it's a good sized market. It's not oversaturated in terms of like medium to large shops. There definitely seems like I can't go a day driving on my commute without seeing a new small shop that I never heard of before. But as far as like the medium to large size shops, there's more than enough of a customer base to serve them all.
So how long had Cornell's been in business before they decided they need someone like you to come in and start managing the people aspect of the business?
So the owner's name is Cornel, and he immigrated from Romania in about 82, I believe. He was a plumber there, and then he kept plumbing when he moved to Oregon, and basically kind of ran it like a one-man shop out of his garage, so to speak, until his son Mario got old enough and expressed an interest, and he was like, hey, you can be involved, but before you do that, I need you to go through the apprenticeship and get your journeyman's card. So Mario went through the apprenticeship in Oregon. It's very regulated, more so than pretty much any other of the states. There's a few other states like that, but for the most part, it's not. And it's a 4-year program with classes and testing and a required number of hours. And then once he got his journeyman's card, he and his dad split the ownership, and Mario took care of running the company and growing it. And Cornel is one of the highlights of the culture. He's there every single day, and he's doing stuff like helping you load your truck, helping you dump your garbage, making sure the fleet's taken care of, ordering parts, stocking office supplies. You'll never see him not doing something, and he's always happy about it, and you're always excited to see Cornel.
I would think with your position as quote unquote Chief People Officer, having somebody like that dedicated and integrated into the company actually has to be to your benefit. Because it's an example to anybody that you bring in that this is our culture.
Yep. It's awesome because, he's the owner and he represents at the highest level. Like no one's too good to do anything to help out. And he is and was a plumber, which means a lot to a lot of the potential candidates.
So what year did Mario come in and kind of do this break off where they started to go from just the mom and pop that Cornell was doing to growing into more of like a plumbing company, so to speak? Do you know the background on that?
Yeah, so that happened approximately 5 years ago or so.
Oh, so recent.
When they started doing that. Yeah, so not that long ago. It was approximately 5 or so years ago when they moved into the building that's still our main building right now. And then we overfilled it starting the beginning of last year. We got a little like annex location on the east side to help with some overflow. And then we just took over the building in the same parking lot as ours right next to us. That's significantly bigger. So now we've got both of those buildings to work with. And that's kind of going to be what we're moving all of our HVAC operations into, as the new one we just added.
So do you guys work out of one facility in that area or multiple? One
Just
facility.
Just one at the moment. And even with our expansion, I would still say one because they're in the same parking lot. It's literally like from the back garage door of the original shop to the front door of the other shop is like 20 feet maybe. So it's kind of essentially it's the same place.
Does your hat also include looking at things like that efficiency? Like, okay, how far is every service call from headquarters, quote unquote? Are we dispatching guys to go maybe in your area 5 miles is 40 minutes? Are you looking at things like that in your role, or that goes to someone else? That's more operations management.
I'm not directly responsible for it, but we have a really close-knit team where people are willing to like talk about those things and solve them together. So I help with operational things a lot. For example, we sent our plumbing manager on a week-long training a couple weeks back, and I just kind of sat in his seat while he was gone to help partner with the guys. And then I had support from the general manager as well. I'm not a plumber by trade. I don't have a license. So like I can help the guys with anything from problem solving, customer interactions, making sure they run the process accurately. If they have an issue with Service Titan, how to present the options or get the sale. But if it's like a code or technical question, then Cody, the GM, was the person who was the go-to for that kind of stuff while the plumbing manager was gone at a training.
So when you've got all these moving parts in this business and you basically in the last 5 years, I'm going to just generalize and say in the last 5 years, and I know you've only been here a little over a year. So if I stump you on some of these, don't be afraid to say you don't know. But
yeah,
when you expand that quickly, there's got to be so many growing pains. And you just mentioned Service Titan. So you're using some type of automated software to do like your dispatch and figure out your jobs and things like that. But what are the other growing pains that you deal with when you grow that quickly in a segment like this?
One of the biggest ones is how do you keep the culture positive while also recognizing that it's going to change? The culture of 10 or 12 person shop versus a 25 person shop versus a 50 person shop versus a 100-person shop. The same exact culture just doesn't work for all of those. But one of the main things Mario and I talked about multiple times before I came over is not being afraid to change, like grow the culture, but making sure that we kept the culture really forefront as we did that. And that can be challenging for sure, because there's a little bit, and I've been through this before at places where I've worked, there's a little bit of a mourning of a loss of what you had, right? It's not exactly the same. And like there was an era of a shop or a company you worked at where it was like the size or the group of people that were like your people, and you just felt like it was the best it would ever be. And when you're growing this fast, sometimes you can't explain all of the ins and outs and what's going on in the background and cascade all of that information all the way down to the front level. One other thing we did not that long ago that helped with our growth is we added VMI, vendor managed inventory. For those who don't know, it's essentially kind of like having your own Home Depot on site. So instead of having to like pay the cost of stocking all of these parts in advance and hoping that you burn through them and then do it all over again, you just pay for them essentially as you use them. And then if you don't use them, you just return them right back, and you've got that right in your facility.
So is that through a plumbing supply company, or how does that work?
Yeah, so that company that we use is called Standard, and they are a VMI company that's across multiple states. This might be wrong from my recollection, but I think they've got 30 plus locations that have partnered with existing shops to do that. And
probably primarily in the Pacific Northwest then?
Primarily in the Pacific Northwest. Yep. Yes, sir.
Time is running out. Are you registered for North America's premier wastewater event? The Wet Show is just around the corner, happening February 17th to the 20th in Indianapolis. Don't miss your chance to explore an expansive expo hall, discover the latest products and services, network with industry peers, and attend accredited sessions for continuing education hours. Register now before it's too late at wetshow.com. That's www.show.com. At Service Titan, we know running a contracting business is hard work. With our all-in-one solution for the trades, managing your business needs from scheduling to invoicing is easier than ever. Learn how Service Titan gives you the tools to keep your business running smoothly. Visit servicetitan.com. Once again, that's servicetitan.com.
So you're putting a lot of technology, a lot of things into play here to kind of amp this company up or ramp this company up into something like, what's the goal here? If you doubled in size in the last year, we're going to just generalize and say doubled in size in the last year. Is there a point you're trying to get to that was the goal, and then you say, okay, or is the sky the limit here?
The sky is the limit, I would say. We have a hungry young team that just like in a healthy way, like, hey, last month was the best month ever. Okay, well, let's have this month be the best month ever. Okay, well, let's have this month be the best month ever. So there's definitely goals that we have, like more near-term achievable goals as far as milestones that we're shooting for or different things like that. But we are not aiming at like, hey, if we double this year, then we're good. Like, let's take it easy for 2026 and not really grow much. I think a lot of the leadership and a lot of just the team in general, just not built like that. There's not a lot of like good enough in our culture.
No complacency, so to speak.
Yeah, which can have its pros and cons. But I think making sure the culture stays really good is kind of what we're using as a natural throttle to that. If we start having someone like myself dedicated to that and knowing how people are feeling about things and spending time talking to people and being involved with the team. And I'm not their manager, right? I'm not going to write them up. I'm not going to like, hey, this is a serious problem. I'm just a person who gets to work there and talk to the employees about that kind of stuff can help with it. And then communication, which I've never worked anywhere that has said like, hey, our company's communication's as good as possible. We don't need any improvement there. So just realizing that no matter how good you get at communication, you're still going to get complaints about like, I didn't know this was happening, or no one told me this process changed, or I didn't know we quit using that software and we started using this software. And just trying to remember, like, I had someone tell me once, like, by the time you're sick of repeating yourself, that's like the first time anyone's hearing it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's funny you talk about communication and culture and things like that, because so I've been at Cole Publishing, which is the publisher of like Plumber and Cleaner and all those magazines, for 30 years. And when I started here, I think I was employee number 9.
Okay.
So, and it's 30 years. It's not a year, which is a totally different animal, but we have a tendency to talk about the good old days. There was only 9 of us and we had regular meetings and all 9 of us sat in a room. Well, now there's 60 of us. And, in this type of industry, we can remote work, so yeah. We lost a ton of culture, number one, after COVID, because a lot of people went work from home. The nice thing about with you guys being in a service industry, you're probably all coming together at one centralized location every day. No, or are guys taking trucks home, and then being dispatched right from home?
Yeah, we've pivoted. I wasn't with Cornell's at the time, but a lot of the shops in town did a similar pivoting. So one thing is we have meetings every week that the teams are at. Like, there's a plumbing meeting, there's a safety meeting every other Friday that everybody goes to. There's the plumbing install meeting. There's HVAC meetings multiple times a week. So,
and you're bringing every single employee in at one time?
We do on the Friday safety meetings, with the exception of some of the public staff. It is challenging. Parking's been the biggest issue for that, and space. But we literally had our first safety meeting in the new location, and it's just a big empty warehouse right now because we haven't even moved our stuff in yet. So we're like, this feels great to fit everyone in so easily and have enough parking spaces. But I mean, in short order, the warehouse will get filled with stuff. So we need to make sure we protect a space that's large enough. But it is a trick for sure.
Even just keeping people's attention, when you start to bring 30, even in my opinion, 20 plus people into a room, you start to get those segments. You get the people who take over a meeting. Maybe in a training session, it's different versus a meeting. But in any meeting, when you start to bring in more than, 5, 10, a dozen people, you start to go into those segments, the people who won't raise their hand, the people who only raise their hand, and then people who fall somewhere in the middle. And I would think as the people officer, you're going to start to recognize that as maybe one of your things that might be an obstacle the more you grow.
Yeah, it is. It is a good point. I think there's a huge benefit to still having the opportunity for everyone to see each other. And a couple of conscious decisions we've made as far as the safety meeting, that's like the biggest group. We keep it really short and to the point. And the main reason for it is to feed everyone breakfast and for people to get to see each other. So like of the whole entire meeting time, 15 minutes tops is like safety topic and announcements. All the rest of it is just eating, grabbing food, saying like, oh, like these days, who are you? I haven't seen you before. What department are you?
Socializing, which is part of your culture.
Yeah, so that's the majority of what the safety meetings are. Like the safety topic is really brief. Vinny, our plumbing manager, runs it. He has the topic ready, and we just involve people. He reads the first couple bullet points and just hands it on down the line, and however many people it takes to read through to get through the whole topic. And then if anyone has department announcements that they want to make to everybody, and then we have Mario, the owner, always says, raise your hand if you've never been in a safety meeting before. You know, I can't remember the last time we didn't have hands raised. And then we have them say, you know, who they are, what department they're in, what they like to do outside of work.
So what are your departments?
Currently, as far as just big picture, just plumbing and HVAC. We're just a residential service company. So we don't do commercial. We don't do new construction. We don't really do remodels. So we have a plumbing service team, plumbing install team, and a plumbing sales team. And then on the HVAC side, there's HVAC install, HVAC service, and then HVAC sales.
Are you guys a flat rate shop?
We are flat rate shop. Yep. Not time and material.
Okay. And if I'm asking questions that are outside my pay grade or yours, you can just tell me to skip them. But so if you're a flat rate shop, are your employees on a commission then too?
Yeah. So we do, what's really common in this market, where it's not by any means the only, but it's the most common, is we do a competitive hourly. So like, you know, it's not pittance to make up for, you know, because you get commission, but we do competitive hourly plus a performance pay. Performance pay is based on a percentage of the revenue that you install and or percentage of your sale. And then if you're on a service team and you could like sell a water heater and put it in, you get to kind of double dip, so to speak, because
Sure.
There's added benefit to us for efficiency. If you sell it and put it in and we don't have to go back and schedule someone else later, it's a lot benefit to us. So if we can incentivize you to take care of it in one visit, it's better for you, for your paycheck, and it's better for the company, and it's better for the customer because they've already been waiting. You know, our turnaround time is not necessarily today or next day. So they've already been waiting for a little while to get a plumber there to look at their issue. So if we can solve it all in one stop, it's a lot better customer service as well.
Sure. And okay, so speaking of customer service, in your role, are you responsible ultimately for customer service as well? Customer satisfaction, maybe the better word.
As far as responsible goes, I would talk to any customers if needed, but the managers like to be engaged and they like to know what's going on, and they handle that. It's very rare that a manager doesn't just find out that a customer's upset or dissatisfied and pick up the phone and call them themselves. I would say it's either because they're literally not available, or their plate's really full that day, or, you know, once in a really long while, you'll get somebody that just, basically they keep raising the flag to see how high of a person they can talk to. And then when they think they've made it as far as they can get it, then suddenly they're the most reasonable person you've ever spoken to in your life. But all the way up until there, they're not very reasonable.
This isn't anything that every business owner hasn't dealt with. And it's funny to describe it that way.
100%.
Yeah, you're not describing anything that I haven't been a part of. So you've got basically an HVAC and a plumbing department. They're both a flat rate, work on a flat rate type basis. You work in with an area with a lot of people. How are you reaching those people? Is it word of mouth primarily? Are you doing advertising? And if so, what types of advertising do you do? Do you know the answer to any of those?
Yeah, word of mouth and referrals is huge. You know, you always are going to get a certain number of customers. That's just because, you know, the neighbor noticed them at your house, or you're telling your friends or family or whatever. We do lots of traditional advertising as far as Google goes and pay-per-click and things like that. We do a lot of social media advertising as well. And we do mailers, yard signs, We haven't messed really with radio or TV. We're not necessarily against it. I just haven't seen the ROI on that kind of stuff be particularly compelling. And it's a little more useful, in my opinion, for brand awareness than for customer acquisition. And then, so I think that pretty much covers the range of what we're doing right now for customer acquisition.
Speaking of brand awareness, and I don't know when this came into play at Cornell's, if it was pre-Westie or post-Westie, but you guys have an extremely professional looking logo, website, vans. I'm sure it goes on and on down the line. And I think that goes a long way in marketing your company. When I think people recognize that. Is that something that's always been a part of that company, or is that relatively new?
That's relatively new. That is definitely pre-Westie. I had nothing to do with that. Let's see, not October of 2023 is when they did the rebrand. And prior to what we have now with the bright colors and the links and the very recognizable, logo and branding, it was black and white, and it was like a hand holding a wrench, which there's nothing wrong with it, but
like a clip art demonstration of a plumber.
Potentially. I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Mario did it all himself. And that's one of his strengths, is he can do anything, but he also knows when he should have get a professional involved. And I think he got to the point with the branding where he was getting serious. I mean, for a company that size to commit to just the rewrapping all the trucks alone as an expense is a pretty big step of faith forward as far as what the impact you think it's going to be. And it was definitely an example of him being what he's really great at, which is the visionary. Like, hey guys, like, this is going to feel different. It's not going to feel like the brand you're used to. It's going to feel like a different kind of Cornell's, and it is going to be different, and it's going to be better, and it's going to be an investment, but it's going to be worth it. And it has been huge for us. It's been really, really awesome.
They brought in a third party to do that, I assume, or is that something
we
they
used
figured out internally?
Kick Charge Creative. They actually, if you looked at their website and scrolled through some of their work, you'd be like, I know that company. I know that company. I know that company. They kind of specialize in trade companies in the service space.
Is that a nationwide deal, or is that, again, Pacific Northwest?
I don't know about nationwide, but definitely broader than just the Pacific Northwest. I know if I had to go off the top of my head, I think they're pretty prevalent mostly in California, but I think anyone can use them because they're doing the design and branding for you. They're not like doing the truck wrapping and all that stuff.
Yeah, I get it. Well, it worked. I mean, when I went out and did my research on both you and the company, it was apparent to me that you obviously knew what you were doing, or they knew what they were doing. You said Mario did that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mario's the owner, so he's Cornel's son. Yeah, and he got that all in place. A couple years ago. So, well, this last October would have been a year of having the new branding.
Are you involved in the marketing then, or not really?
The marketing currently is one of the things I'm the least involved with, other than I partner directly with our video guy. So any of the videos and most of the social related stuff, anything like on LinkedIn that you see, I do all of that stuff. But as far as managing our spend and our long-term strategy and seeing how many different buckets we're in, Mario mostly does that with our integrator, her name is Grace. And those two are kind of the main two that work on that. I enjoy marketing and things like that, but to be honest, one of my weaknesses is wanting to be involved in everything. So I luckily one of the things that helps me not want to be involved in everything is when I trust the people who are doing it. And I just have a high level of trust in Grace and Mario's ability to execute on the marketing. So they just involve me if they need a specific like video or some specific content for like a objective they're trying to accomplish.
How often are you doing video types things for social media? Is it daily, weekly?
Well, it's kind of like a two-part process for me. As far as my personal one goes, that's daily, but I use my personal brand and my personal social medias and connections in service of my professional goals. As far as meeting with our actual videographer that we have on retainer and like shooting something specific, he and I try to plan. We try to plan and shoot something weekly. And that's where we need to get looped in with Grace and Mario as far as marketing. Like if they want to run a certain special or if we're seeing like a slump on a certain kind of calls, or if we're having trouble recruiting for a particular role.
So you're actually shooting video in hope of some type of tangible return, not necessarily like a brand enhancer or just a content piece in general.
We do both. So if we don't have a specific thing in mind or a specific ROI that we're targeting, then Kevin's our video guy, and he is really good. He's with Undefeated Films and he's been working with Cornell's for a while, and he understands, our vibe, for lack of a better way of putting it, and like what we're trying to accomplish. And he's a really good storyteller. So it's rare that he solo, or me and him, or if we go on a job site, that what he puts together isn't in service of a greater story, which is what people connect with. But he does it in a way that when we do something that's more specific or like marketing feeling, it feels in line. It doesn't be like, whoa. It feels like some of them do these kind of videos and then some of them do marketing videos. It feels very fluent.
Yeah. Interesting. So as people officer, what is your biggest obstacle when you come into work every day? Is it keeping people in the roles, or, what's keeping you up?
I think what's keeping me up is, in some ways, the rate of growth, but I like that. I like that challenge. We're talking about a few specific roles that we want to get in place sooner than later. And a lot of the times when we're adding roles, like the role hasn't existed even yet, like myself, for example. So it's a combination of like knowing what we're going to need as a team, deciding like, hey, we might not need this role yet, but if we wait till we do, it's going to be really painful and quite a bit of load for everyone else in the meantime. And then getting the timing right, because at the higher level roles, timing is pretty key. If you aren't looking for someone who's qualified when they are looking to make a move, and then they make their move, you kind of missed your chance. But keeping those relationships open is really good. We have a leader level role that we're actively trying to fill right now. And because of keeping such good track of candidates, I haven't had anyone apply for that level of role recently, but I'm in such good contact with them that I reached out to 6 of them yesterday. All 6 replied. One was like, hey, no, never mind. I just decided to stay where I'm at. 2 more have made other decisions. And I had just yesterday alone, I have 2 interviews already lined up for tomorrow, and I'm hoping to have a 3rd one. So that helps make it a lot more attainable to do what you want to do with that.
If we talk to you next year, do you think you're going to have all the same things going on, or what do you see in the crystal ball here?
Well, one thing for sure is we'll be a lot bigger. I feel very confident about that. But I think our culture is, I know everybody says it, but we put our money where our mouth is. We did just find out not that long ago that we made it onto Oregon's top 100 companies to work for list. And that is based on employee feedback on an anonymous survey. So we're really proud of that. Another really good indicator of how good our culture is we had our company holiday party just a few weeks ago. And we had all but 2 employees come, which I've never been to a company party with that high of attendance in my life, no matter where I've worked. The attendance is never that high. To have only 2 people, 3 people not come of the whole company was pretty impressive and says a lot about what the culture is like.
Westie, I appreciate talking to you. I wish you and Cornell success. I can see why there is success here already. You guys are doing some, in my opinion, very forward-thinking things. And one of the things you said that I actually thought was smart was we look to fill a role before we think we need it. And sometimes you don't have that luxury, but I think that part of the success is because of that you guys are taking that type of strategy. And I look forward to following you guys on a journey, because everything I've seen is looking good.
No, yeah, I mean, thanks. I really appreciate it. It's really fun to be on a team that everyone is willing to try new things and see if something works, and have frank conversations with difficulties, because they're never going to not exist. But a lot of times what happens is they just get buried and not spoken about. So that's really helpful. And just support. The support is huge, and having people believe in what believe in each other and what you can accomplish that you don't know how to do yet is really huge. So it's been great to be in that environment.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Westie contributes articles to Plumber magazine and can be found on social at westiemag. Visit cornellsplumbing.com to see how image creates professionalism in plumbing. Be sure to subscribe and like this podcast to keep more of this great content coming.